So the first question that a new business owner wants to know is that, Nigel, you've done for due diligence, is that how do I structure my legal startup? Should I incorporate? Should I? So I'm writing, okay, business structuring advice. Should I incorporate my company? Should I not? Okay, so this would be whether to incorporate or not, whether to create an LLP, unregistered partnership, or pet partnership, registered or unregistered, or a private limited company. Okay, this is the first set. Second is, now this advice will be based on a number of factors, right from tax to other strategic issues may be involved. Okay, do you understand what they want to know is, should I incorporate my business? So let's imagine a situation. There are three friends from college who are starting a new project in the vacations. After their internship, they meet. Okay, they meet on weekends and they work at nights, and they are working in a interning in a big company. And this private project of theirs has nothing to do with this. Now they've been doing this for about 2 weeks, and now they are beginning to think that this seems promising, and we need to figure out what to do. Okay, so one of the things that we first suggest that you can suggest is co-founders agreement, which can be created even before anything is registered. It doesn't matter later if this co-founders agreement is creating a partnership related business. Okay, a co-founders agreement is the first thing you will enter into before your startup has any viable business model, revenues, anything. What will this co-founders agreement do? It will create the process for everybody to get economic interest, rights, decide their shares, equity, what happens if someone leaves, how performance is measured, all of that. So to get this kind of work, you will have to have a conversation where the person is willing to tell you. So it's not about the willingness of the other side, it's about your willingness to ask questions about how the other person's business is going. So business structuring advice you all followed. So if you learn these questions, the answers, that whether to incorporate or not, when to incorporate, how to draft the co-founders agreement, what is important to include, what questions to ask so that the person gives you work, then you can get this kind of work. I'm not talking about charging, okay? Maybe you don't want to charge initially. It totally depends on the nature of your practice. If you're a student, I suggest don't charge initially, till the person builds trust with you. Once he builds trust, he will be sticky, because there are very few reliable people to work with. Next is execution of the agreement. Let's say drafting and execution of the above agreements, okay? Right? Includes signing and stamp duty advice. So whether this selects co-founders agreement, LLP agreement, whatever partnership, you will have to draft that, get it registered. And it's not just LLP registration. You will have to do a name reservation, then draft the agreement. You will have to get their DINs. You may need to coordinate with a CA or CS friend. Keep this in mind, okay? You'll execute this plan. You can do this yourself also. It's nice to get to learn this, but a lot of times you'll get stuck with the portal not working, the ministry, MCA portal not working. Both LLP incorporation and private limited incorporation happens on the portal. Another kind of work could be non-profit related work, but non-profit incorporation. But we'll just let it be because this is the more common work that comes. Okay. Second is something called MSMED registration work. Any small business, once, at least if you are going to have company clients, not individual clients, company clients. If you're going to have company clients, recovery of money for you is going to be much easier if you are registered as a micro, small or medium entity. You can just register online. All these, even the above parts, other than the partnership, incorporation, everything else is online. But MSMED registration is like a super simple process. Don't Google and do it alone, because you have to do it through the site. There are people who have created, I'll just show you. People have created paid websites, but all they do is interface with the free government ministry. And you don't get, see this MSME registration. This is all random, okay? This is not actual. This is the actual Udyog Aadhaar. Government one is the actual one. I start with here. Udyog Aadhaar is the correct one. I'm not sure. This is .co.in. It's not the correct one. The number is the Udyog Aadhaar number, but this is like a classic case of where cyber squatting is happening by private entities and they are misrepresenting that they are the government. Like it sounds like it's the government service provider. They are not claiming it to be. Now you have to register from this site, okay? And it is easy to do. It takes like 20 minutes, but use this site to register. Now, what the point is not registration, okay? People are charging some $500-600 for registration, but your point is not going to be registration. The MSMED Act says that if there is a registered MSME, then any payments delayed to it, any payments firstly must be made in time. If they are made within a certain, by the due date or beyond a certain period prescribed, then 3 times the interest rate that is chargeable is paid. 3 times the bank interest rate is payable, okay? And every company in its annual report has to disclose that it has payments due, meaning delayed and due, to these MSMEs, okay? So MSME registration and implement. Now, if you do this at the end of the year, no company wants to say I have 10 payments due to MSMEs, especially if I'm a public company or a listed company. Even in private companies, people want to avoid doing that. Okay. The other work that may arise from here is payment disputes. Now, before the payment disputes part, payment recovery needs to be expedited. So you do registration. Then what do? You will need to improve the invoices. In the invoices, you have to mention a clear due date with a notice for consequences of delayed payment. Okay. So what we do is that whenever we raise an invoice, we are ourselves registered as an MSME, and we have suggested this to people earlier. So we write a clear statement stating that we are registered as an MSMED. Any payments paid beyond this date will attract 3 times the interest rate prescribed by RBI. Okay, and that notice actually works really well in ensuring people pay up on time. Okay, because there's a consequence. Now, after this happens, all you have to do, you have to send an invoice, right? So invoicing process, you will set it up. And in that invoice, this note has to be there with a clear due date. Then if there are payment disputes, there is an interesting part. If you're not paid, you can approach the MSMED Facilitation Council. There are petitions you can file with this. Now, the thing is that what is the MSME Facilitation Council? The MSMED Act says that all payments related matters where money has not been paid, not a dispute on the contract, okay, but where money is due and not paid, will be quickly settled by an MSMED Facilitation Council. This uses the process of arbitration, okay, and it's a very simple process. Now let's list down more skills. So I'm counting these as part of this. If you can help with registration work. Okay, what is the registration work you can help with? Registration work, remember, people have to think a little, okay? If you just give it to a random person to just go and fill a form and do it, strategically, there are many goof-ups made. So you will need to, even if you don't execute it, you will need to oversee it. Which are the registrations? PAN 10 are dealt with NSDL. National Securities Depository Limited is the one, the government agency dealing with this. GST registration, this much everyone needs, okay? What else do they need? Some states have a trade license issue. You will need that. Shops and establishments. This one people forget. They just forget it. So what will be the work? Registration? If you've become big. So remember, I'm not talking about that one startup jiska abhi co-founders agreement hi hua hai, not that one. Because if they have just gotten a co-founders agreement and people are working at their own homes or sometimes meeting up at one of the kids' homes, they will not need a shops and establishments registration. But the moment they take office space, they will need. So what all will they need to fix when they have this? Okay, look at this. Registration, appointment letters to be as per the act, payment dates, leave and attendance has to be as per the act. Okay, some people will be exempted. So you will have to see. This can be advisory work or you can execute. Delhi shops and establishments is a 10-minute game. You can just register online. Okay, literally it takes 10 minutes. You have to fill a very small form. So these are actually sub-services.